Let's go and move with life. Let it go. Something new tonight. Let's go and move with life. Let it go. Something new tonight.
G'day guys, welcome to the unofficial Scorecard podcast, a podcast where we talk all things boxing and occasionally the wider world of combat sports. This is episode 66, and today guys, we are joined by returning mate of the show, good mate of the show, writer at Code Sports and the combat sports writer for your capital city's major newspaper, most likely, Brendan Bradford. Guys, Brendan's back, but more importantly, guess what? I actually said something would happen on the last pod, and it actually did. How good's that for a change? Hopefully this can be a little theme that continues. But yeah, it was great to catch up with Brendan. We just had a short little 20-25 minute chat. He actually came onto the call from the actual media room after the press conference. It was crazy. He was showing me on the video like... all the banners and everyone walking around and stuff like that. It was wild. But I wanted to talk to Brendan. I thought it would be a really good opportunity just to sort of, you know what I mean? Like, we did some pretty heavy analysis, quote unquote, on yesterday's pod with Brian Campbell, which I really enjoyed and I thought was a really good chat. But I just wanted to have a chat with Brendan to just see what the vibe was like over there and almost get a bit of an insight as what it would be like as a fan, if we were over there. You know, if you're like me and you're at home back in Australia or wherever you are in the world and just wishing like crazy that you could be over in Vegas experiencing all this stuff firsthand for yourself, I thought it would be a great opportunity to chat to Brendan and get a little bit of an idea and a snapshot into what it's like. And it certainly sounds like he's having fun. so guys, I'll jump to this chat now. We'll keep this nice and short, and I'll chat these in the outro. All right, well, here I am joined by good mate of the show, returning mate of the show, and maybe our first actual official correspondent, international correspondent, BB Brendan Bradford. Brendan, thanks for coming back on the show, mate.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, international correspondent, mate. I'll take that.
It might not be the most prestigious title that you have currently. You've got quite a few going, but it's at the bottom of the list. But we'll add it onto the list for sure.
I'll chuck it on the CV, absolutely.
But mate, you are joining us right now from the actual media room where the presser just went live, boots on the ground in Las Vegas. Before we get into the actual fight stuff itself, mate, tell us what your week's been like. It seems, from over here, following you from afar, it seems like it's been an absolute whirlwind, mate.
It has been so full on. It's been non-stop. So we landed on Sunday afternoon. That was straight. We landed, and then I left my bag in the Uber. I left the bag with my passport and my wallet in the Uber. No. So that was the introduction to Las Vegas this time around. It was. I got it back within sort of an hour and a half, but it was a stressful 90 minutes. Then we went out to Liam Wilson's residence, caught up with him, interviewed him, and a few of the guys out there. Monday was a smaller contingent. There was probably 5 or 6 Aussie media there. We went out to Tim's gym, caught up with him, did a few interviews. I spoke to Jeff Mayweather out there. That was pretty cool. Tuesday, almost the rest of the Aussie contingent got here. So there's probably between sort of 10 to 20 over here. So we went out to Tim's gym again, did some more interviews. That day I spoke to Dewey Cooper, who UFC fans will know well as Francis Ngannou's coach. Had a sort of an interview with him. What do we do Wednesday? Wednesday was the grand arrivals. So that was the most chaotic event ever. Just like people crammed like sardines behind ropes and stuff. And now we're at Thursday. We've just had the presser, which was less chaotic but wild in other ways. Now, I'm set up here. You can't say, well, you can see me now, but the listeners can't. But I'm in the press conference room or the media room. I'm sitting in Sean Porter's chair where he was set up for his live stream on his podcast. Crunching out a few stories and doing the podcast. So there's a long-winded answer
no, mate,
to how fight week's been.
Where did you fit in time to get drunk as hell and gamble?
I don't worry about that. We've been a lot of time. So that was I actually had to have a bit of a night off yesterday.
Okay.
Because it's just you land and you go out for a few beers, and then everyone else gets there and you go out for a few more beers.
Yeah.
There will be some tales coming out of this trip. Like Vegas has bitten a few people.
Okay. So you've just inadvertently booked yourself in for another podcast in a couple of weeks. We need to get this.
yeah.
Or at least a phone call from me. We'll see.
Yeah. There's been some proper Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas style stories of the last couple of days. And I'm not even exaggerating.
Wow.
It the way it works. Like the whispers will head out, and the people involved will tell the stories. But it's been some classics.
Wow.
So don't worry about that. There's been plenty of beers consumed by all involved.
Okay, well that's very good to know. But we don't have a ton of time, BB, so we'll try and stick to the fights as much as possible. But what's the I've had a couple of overseas people on the pod recently, Al Bernstein and Brian Campbell yesterday. So I've asked them about how the American fans feel about Tim coming over and all that type of thing, get their opinion and their vibe for a guy based in our part of the world going over there. And there seems to be a fair bit of an Australian contingent over there, from what I can tell as well. What's the feeling like for you guys? Are you guys being totally embraced? Is it a little bit, back and forth? Like, how would you sort of describe the vibe over there for the Aussies, and if it's a welcoming nature or not?
Yeah, it is. It actually is. And I'm wondering whether. So everyone we talk to is sort of quite excited about an Aussie coming over, and I'm maybe it's just because we speak to boxing people, but I was actually surprised at how well known Tim Tszyu is here.
Okay.
Look, I don't know if that translates into casual fans or the broader sort of sporting fan base or whatever, or maybe it's entirely likely that I just am talking to boxing people. But there are a lot of people talking about Tim Tszyu weighing in on his chances and this and that, and it's probably got to do with your likes of Terence Crawford and now Errol Spence, basically saying we want to fight this guy. So that's probably giving him a bigger profile as well. Keith Thurman as well, for the amount of time that he was one half of the main event, he sold this fight so well. So probably elevated Tim's profile a little bit more. But yeah, he's been well received. Australians have been well received, which is funny because almost just over a month ago, probably 5 weeks ago, I was in LA for the UFC and did the road trip to Vegas to spend the afternoon with Tim and Camp, and we walked around the strip. He did a bit of shopping, and then we went to go-karts, and no one knew. Yeah. No one knew who he was at all. Didn't get stopped. No one asked. No one said anything. But I would say after this week, that's probably not the case. Again, I don't think he's probably mainstream, but he's definitely more well-known than he was for sure.
Wow, okay. And you're obviously coming to us from the media centre where the press conference was, finished an hour or two ago. I didn't watch it. How was it? Was there any interesting nuggets? I'm
not going to lie to you. It was a bit of a slog.
Okay.
So they did the entire card. Not the entire card. They did probably 8 fights, but they did 4 fights sort of on the undercard. Mendoza, Zarafa, Lara. They did 4 of the undercard fighters, and that took half an hour. And guys, look, no disrespect to them, but no one's here because of them. Yeah. But they spoke to all these guys, and then there was a 5-10 minute break, and then they got on the top couple of fights on the card. Man, the press conference lasted over an hour.
Wow.
It was just insane. So by the time Tim and Fondora spoke, I'm not going to lie, a lot of people started to there's a whole radio row here, podcast set up. So there were people going back, I've got to get my content out for the day. So yeah. The one really cool thing I remember from Zoo speaking at the presser was that he said his first time in Vegas was in 2009 for Pacquiao versus Miguel Cotto. And Tim walked into the press conference room today, took his seat, just waiting for everything to start. Miguel Cotto sitting two rows in front of him.
Oh, no way.
He said it was a big fanboy moment. I've got a cool video of them, getting a photo together. And it's kind of I guess like an example or just a sense of how far he's really come. Obviously, I don't know, he would have been 12 years old or whatever back then. But that was a cool little moment. That's like the most interesting nugget that came out of it, I reckon.
Yeah. And you've mentioned that you've spent a fair bit of time over the last couple of weeks with Tim and at his gym and all that type of thing, and we'll get into that for sure. But did you have a chance to catch up with Zerafa?
Zerafa's been around doing media. He didn't stick around long afterwards, but we've got a couple of journos over here, so he's got he's been talking to media, but I haven't actually spoken to him this week. The first, it's kind of been all Tim, but and Liam Wilson as well, because he was in Vegas for a little bit, and then we got Fundora yesterday. Had a good chat to him. But we the papers and stuff have some stories and stuff on Zerafa, but I haven't actually spoken to him.
And is it like a weird vibe when like Tim and Zerafa are in the same room? Like are they avoiding each other? Are they just kind of like ignoring each other? Like what's going on with those guys?
There's been a couple of awkward moments. Oh, they haven't. It's not like they've been hanging out or anything, but you can tell. And I think Zerafa said it yesterday. Like at a base level, they're both Aussies. I think Tim said he wants to see Zerafa win, and Zerafa said, "I'd like to see Tim win, but we're not going to be mates. We're not going to hang out and celebrate after. There's no friendship there.
Yeah,
very very frosty. Today's presser, they felt like they almost just ignored each other.
Yeah,
to be honest, which was interesting, and it wasn't really brought up a lot. The fact that they were maybe Americans don't know that sort of backstory that they were supposed to fight, but I thought it might have been an issue or a storyline, but not so much out of today's presser.
Yeah, well, I guess that's kind of a good thing actually. It throws their minds on the task at hand, but. Yeah, and we know Zerafa's penchant for getting a bit over the top of press conferences, so I'm actually relieved to hear that it was all kept under wraps. But you spent so much time with Tim recently. What was the difference in visiting him at the gym a couple of weeks ago compared to during fight week this week?
The really interesting thing is, so I spoke to him. It would have been 6 weeks out from the fight or whatever, and spent 5 or 6 hours just with him, his uncle and coach Igor and Chef Omar. That was the entire crew of Tim Zoo that was over in Vegas for the training camp. And it's the first time I sort of spent any decent amount of time around Tim, not in fight week or not reacting to Charlo pulling out or Thurman pulling out, right? So it was the first glimpse really I'd have had of him as just what he's like on a day-to-day, and he was relaxed, just like a normal bloke, just laughing and cracking up. He's pretty funny. And then, so fast forward to this week, I'm like, all right, well, it's going to be a different guy. He goes into this, fight mode kind of thing. But this fight week is the first time, myself and Nick Walshaw, Fox Sports journos, just sitting there. We were talking about it just before, that it's the first time that Tim's been he feels like quite relaxed. He was talking like he did sort of print media, and he was sitting down, cracking jokes, laughing. Often he's a little bit prickly, as he would be. Zoo's even admitted that in the past he used to get nervous talking to the media, and you used to see the press side of things as a chore and something he had to get through. But now he's kind of feels like he's embracing it a little bit more. Maybe can take ownership of some of the storylines and stuff. And I suppose that just comes with being a world champ and being probably Australia's biggest biggest profile boxer at the moment, kind of thing. So it's actually been really interesting to see that evolution over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and when you did see him a couple of weeks ago, sorry, I just cut out a little bit when you're saying. Did you say it was just literally Igor, Tim, and the chef were here? That was the only?
Yeah.
Okay, so Nikita wasn't even out here at that point?
Nah, so Nikita came, I think, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
And has been doing just training and sparring. But back in mid-February, it was the whole entourage was Tim, Igor, and Chef Omar.
Wow.
That was it. Just they I caught them on a Sunday, so it was his day off, right? So, but the weekly thing, two-a-day trainings and cold plunges and massages and eating healthy. But this was the day off, so they went down to, I think, did some sort of shopping at Caesar's Palace, I think it was, and then they went go-karting at, I think it's called Speed Vegas, just on a day off. But yeah, we're calling it the world's smallest boxing entourage.
Yeah. I love
just
that.
3 blokes.
That's so
Yeah.
That's so cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been worried if you're like, oh, there's like 25 people there. We're all hanging out all day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Jesus. But that's cool. But Brendan, what's your schedule for the rest of the week, mate? Obviously, weigh-ins tomorrow. Liam Wilson fighting tonight. Man, I got to imagine you and all the Aussies are going to find some pub somewhere and have the best night of your life watching that fight. I'm so jealous. God.
Here's the thing. So tonight is, I've got one more thing to write today, file that off. So for context, it is now just about 4:30 p.m. in Las Vegas. So I've got another story to get away that won't take too long. We'll go out for dinner and have a couple of beers tonight. Tomorrow is the official zoo weigh-ins early in the morning, so we'll cover off that. And then the what do they call it? The big weigh-ins.
Ceremonial?
The ceremonial weigh-ins, that's the one. And my lack of sleep is coming.
Mate, you've been in Vegas for a week. It's completely understandable.
Mate, as a real quick side note, we came into the media centre here and they put on a lunch, which is the first thing. And I walked in and there was 2 big bowls of salad, and I'm like, mate, this is the first vegetable I've seen in about 5 days.
Oh, that's awesome.
So tomorrow's interesting because we're going to do the ceremonial weigh-ins, which are at 1, and then a couple of us are jumping into a car and hightailing it to Glendale, Arizona, to go and see Liam Wilson's fight.
Yes, that's so cool.
And then we're doing the overnight road trip back, so I think it's about 4 hours.
Yep.
So at this point, it's me and listeners of the pod, I'm sure, will know Jay McAllister.
Yeah.
YouTuber, and his Ash, his camera lady, and Mel Woods from AAP. We're going, and there's I know Ben Damon's a big time, so he's flying down, obviously, the bastard. But so at the moment, I think it's us, maybe Walshaw. But we're going back and forth about whether it was too risky or too much driving, but we all sort of came to the conclusion that we've come a long way. We might as well go a little bit more and try and get to another Aussie world title fight. Yeah, a world title fight, which is for the WBO interim, which has just been confirmed this week as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't think I could be any more jealous, Brendan. But that just sounds like the best time ever. But imagine if he wins that drive home or drive back to Vegas is going to be insane.
And I've heard that there's like a fair contingent of like Liam Wilson's mates and fans and stuff who are going to his fight and then have rented like a big camper van or something like that, or even a bus, and they're doing the overnight road trip back as well. So,
brilliant!
Like imagine if he wins, and that'll just be the party bus. I might try and get on that if he
wins. yeah, absolutely, mate. Oh, that's so cool. And what about fight night coverage? What can we expect for Tim and Fundora?
Yeah, so we'll have a live blog. So myself and Jamie Pandaram will be just feeding stuff into the live blog, and then I'll do a snap hopefully Tim Zhu wins unified world title story, which will I think go in the papers the next day, from Monday, I think. And then we'll do all the post-fight sort of breakdowns and analysis and stuff, and probably a couple of videos, I think. That's fight day.
Beautiful. Is the media section like that classic Las Vegas style ringside position? Do you know exactly where you'll be? Or
I'm not sure. So the only time I've covered big boxing in Vegas, and I've done UFC here a few times, but the one time I did big boxing, it was Canelo versus Danny Jacobs, because Bilal Akkawi was on the undercard fighting John Ryder. And mine was really late notice because Bilal only got the fight on 10 days notice or whatever. So they could only organise me with, I think I was in like media overflow or like broadcast overflow. So I was almost in the stands. Yeah. Like, it was cool. Like, it was great seats. And I got a really good vantage point of the walkouts, but I was way back. But because Bilal was on quite early in the day, I sort of just snaked up to the main press area and just sort of sat down. I remember this so clearly. I sat down and I was sitting next to Kevin Aioli, veteran. I think Dan Raphael was on the other side of him.
Well, and, if you were sitting next to those two guys, I don't know how you would have fit, but sorry, a bit of a low blow.
This was early enough in the night that only the Aussie media, which was me and Ben Damon and the two absolute veterans, were there. So all your Mexican media there. I think Jojo Diaz was on the card. They all didn't come until later on. So there was a few spare seats. But I just went and sat down, and they both kind of looked at me like, what's going on? I don't know they've allocated seats, so I'm sitting in someone else's seat, obviously. But I turned to Kevin Aioli and I was like, I'm over from Australia, just covering Bilal Akkawi's fight. You mind if I sit here just while he fights, and then I'll shove off back to my thing? And he was lovely. He said, yeah, go for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Good luck to your boy and all that kind of stuff. And it's been really cool. That was really cool.
Sorry, Brendan, was that the same event and the same night that you snuck into Canelo's dressing room?
Oh, I did. Yeah. So that was that day. So I had one of those, and they do all the different tiers of media passes where you're allowed. Usually, if you're print media, you get print media. You sit at your desk and you can't go anywhere else. But somehow, I think it was because I was at Sporting News, and I think Sporting News at the time was owned by DAZN. So I got like this just all access pass, and it had like. I kid you not, it had like glittery silver trimmings around this big green thing, and I was like, I'm just going to try and see where it can go. And after Bilal's fight, I was like, I'll just try and go see if I can get him in his changing room backstage. And every sort of security point or set of doors I walked through, everyone was like, come on through. So later in the night, right, like I filed all my Bilal Akkawi stuff, and I basically finished work. So I was like, see how we go. And figured out where Canelo's dressing room was. And, 20 minutes before he was scheduled to make the walk, I just walked into his dressing room and just sort of merged with his entourage and just stood there just going, what is going on? Like, what on earth is happening? It's still surreal. I have to go back through and watch some of those videos because that was just crazy. Yeah. Now that I think about it.
Oh man, there's a bit of a theme developing with you, BB. You just sneak into places, but I love it. I love it. You're a man of the people.
Yeah, man. I always say, like, what's the worst that could happen? They could say no, and you go back to your seat, or you whatever. Yeah. But sometimes they say yes.
Ask for forgiveness. Don't ask for permission. That's the way to live.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. Well,
and just walk with purpose, walk with determination, and people are like, geez, that guy's a busy bloke, but he must have something to do.
Act like if you're looking at your watch constantly and you've got no time to spare and you'll get it anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, these bastards. Yeah. Maybe I'll get a headset, see what I can get.
100%. But Brendan, I won't keep you any longer, mate. I know you only had a little bit of time, and I really appreciate you fitting me in on the ground in Vegas from the media room. First time we've had like a live cross style sort of thing on the pod, so it's a bit of a milestone for me as well, mate. And I'm insanely jealous, probably like everyone listening. It sounds like you're having the best time ever. That car trip to Arizona is going to be so much fun. I wish I was like in the boot or something like that. But like we always are, mate, when we see you ringside in Australia, we're always jealous and we try to live vicariously through you. And no more than this weekend have we ever done that. But best of luck with all the fight coverage coming up, mate. You always do a fantastic job. And we're glad you're on the ground representing our part of the world, mate. And enjoy the fights.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I think we mentioned it last week, but always love coming on. So as I said, like if I have a spare couple of minutes, I'll always try and jump on with you. So appreciate it, man, and looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm starting to get a bit nervous now. It's starting to feel real.
Oh man, that's so cool. Well, mate, we'll be following along with your content as we always do, mate, and. You mentioned there's a few stories coming out of this week, so I think we've just foreshadowed a future pod appearance, but I won't put the pressure on you too much. I'll give you a few weeks to recover and all that sort of thing, and we'll reach out to you down the track, mate. But thanks again for
absolutely. The time. Can I just point out
that
I said that there were some fairly heavy and hectic stories. I wasn't involved in any of them. Okay. That is the truth.
It was Mr. X.
apart from leaving my wallet in the Uber, but I'm not clickbaiting you when I say that there are some tales coming out of this week.
I look forward to finding what they are at a later stage, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But no, mate, this has been fantastic, and thank you again.
All good, man. Cheers.
All right, guys. Well, there we had it. That was my chat with returning mate of the show, Brendan Bradford, who has his boots on the ground in Las Vegas, was embedded in Tim Tszyu's camp at multiple stages. How fun was that? That was so much fun to be able to talk to Brendan. It sounds like he's having the time of his life, which I'm so jealous about. But as always, guys, I've put the links to Brendan's social media and also his author page at Code Sports in the description of this episode. So if you're like me and want to live vicariously through someone who seems to be having the time of their life on the assignment of their life, just click on the links and follow along with Brendan. As you know before, if you've listened to the pod, he's a great guy, and I'm rapt for him being over there, and he always does a fantastic job of covering fights, not only during fight week and fight night, but just all year round. He's a full-time combat sports writer, and he's always looking at every opportunity to possibly be able to cover the fights and bring fighters more exposure on huge platforms. You know, he's really doing it for the right reasons, so he certainly deserves our support. But yeah, God, it's hard to not be jealous. It is hard to not be jealous. How cool is that road trip to Arizona for the Liam Wilson fight? My God, if Liam gets it done, that drive home is going to be epic. But we'll have to wait for another podcast in the future to hear the tales that will be unfolding over the next couple of days. But yeah, guys, get on with Brendan. He's a great guy, and definitely intend to have him back on the pod at some stage later on down the track for sure. So, guys, as I sort of mentioned in the intro, actually had an idea, kind of teased it a little bit, which I don't like doing because things fall through so often, but it actually happened. How awesome. What a month on the pod. I mean, start off with Al Bernstein at the start of March, which, you know, was truly a highlight just to spend some time and pick his brain and chat with a true legend, a Hall of Famer. Was incredible. Got to have another chat with Brian Campbell yesterday, which is always an absolute ton of fun. And I love that 360-degree analysis that BC brings. He thinks of so many different storylines and angles on things that just don't occur to me. It's always so much fun and also so informative to be able to talk to him. And then to be able to cap it off by chatting to Brendan to get that sort of, you know, that Aussie feel, see what it's like there for ourselves if we're back at home and wishing we were over there. So maybe one of the best months on the pod ever, to be totally honest. It was an absolute thrill. I had a ball talking to everyone, and all the plans came off. The other thing, I know I say this all the time, and I don't want to sound like I'm sucking up, but I mean, you know, I've had the Al Bernstein, Brian Campbell, and Brendan Bradford on the pod this month, and man, they all are just such genuinely nice blokes. It's unbelievable. Not that everyone I've had on the pod has been a great guy, but those guys in particular, so easy to deal with. They ask questions back. They understand how the sort of conversation works when you hit the red light. It really is a joy. It makes it so easy for me. And yeah, I just had the best fun ever. This was a great month. I'm going to declare it the best month on the pod that we've ever had. So the year's off to a good start. Hopefully we can continue this for the rest of the year, but obviously time will tell and we'll see what happens. So guys, all my ideas for the month of March are done. They're in the can. I hope you enjoy it. Give me some feedback. I'd appreciate it. I have no ideas for what's next. But what we do know is the schedule is loaded. We've got the fights on the weekend. Liam Wilson, Michael Zarafa, Tim Zhu. We've got the Gathering in Adelaide, which is a banger card next Wednesday night. And I can't remember what's after that, but it's boxing. There's always something. So there's certainly fights to talk about. There's certainly Australian angles to talk about. So absolutely, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. When that will be and who it will be with, I literally have no clue at this point. But I'll start putting my head down, my ass up, get some ideas and continue this momentum. It'll be fantastic. But guys, thank you very much for listening the last month. I've had some really awesome feedback. So, I put a lot of effort into this. I really try to make it something that people want to listen to. So I really appreciate it when people reach out and just tell me they've enjoyed it. I mean, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I try to make a podcast that I would want to listen to, and this month I really felt like I've done that. If someone else had done everything that I was lucky enough to be able to do, I'd be listening to it for sure. I'd be loving it. So, that was a little bit too too aggressive self-praise. But anyway, the point being, I just try to make a podcast that I would want to listen to as a fan, and I felt like we sort of got that done this month. So, look, you guys know when I get really excited, I just ramble. I've been rambling, so that is a good time to finish it up. But I really appreciate the support, guys. Thank you genuinely very much. If you want to get in contact with me, guys, you can email the pod at tuscpod@gmail.com. That's tuscpod@gmail.com. If you want to throw a tweet at me, you can do that at delivery_man2. Also got the Insta page if you guys want to jump on, but you know the deal. Not groundbreaking content, just post when there's a new episode. But guys, that's us. What a month. So much fun. Thank you again. I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Enjoy the fights. I can't wait to talk about them and talk to you guys. Okay, thanks. Thanks, guys. That's a weird way to end. I never do that. I'll chat to you later.
Well, let's travel. May add up the change. Living like there's no tomorrow. Then tomorrow came. I was living like there's no tomorrow. Then tomorrow came. I got the wake up call, laughing through the window frame.